Episode 49, Suicide Prevention and Steve Austin.
Welcome to Creative Success. Fueling success with creativity. It's the Creative Success Podcast with Tanner Gears. Designed to build inspiration for life. Delivering the messages and ideas for today.
And I'm Tanner Gears. What can we create together today? In this episode, creators, we are honoring Suicide Prevention Month, and I've brought on my good friend, Steve Austin, to discuss his run-in, his attempt at suicide, and he shares all, so you can step into your creative success.
Hi, my name is Sophia Dawn Nellick Aroba. I am a health and fitness team Beachbody coach, helping others create a healthier, happier lifestyle. You're listening to the Creative Success Show with Tanner Gears.
Thank you so much, Sophia, for that awesome introduction. And today's episode, creators, is brought to you by HostGator.com. HostGator.com has that optimized WordPress hosting, one-click WordPress installs, making it incredibly easy to get started building your website. And with that drag-and-drop website builder, building your actual website has never been easier. Top that off with that 45-day money-back guarantee, plus their legendary 24-hour, 365 customer and tech support. Isn't it about time that you got online? Get 40% off right now using Tanner at checkout at HostGator.com. And for the complete show notes on today's episode and all the links to connect with our guest, as well as the suicide prevention resources and phone numbers, come on over to the complete show notes page at creativesuccessshow.com/49. I am so grateful for this episode and our guest today, creators, because we're honoring Suicide Prevention Month here on the Creative Success Show. And if you know someone who's been there, if you know someone who may need a little support, do us a favor right now and pick up the phone. Pick up the actual phone and give that person a phone call. Let them know, hey, I'm thinking about you, and I want you to know how much I appreciate you and how much you mean to me. That could be the difference maker. And today, we've got a great guest to discuss his run-in with a suicide attempt. And he shares all. And I would appreciate you sharing this episode, because you never know. It could be that difference maker for someone else. You don't know what someone else is going through. And this may be the support, the guidance that they need to keep going and stay here with us. So I would appreciate you sharing this show. And I'm also going to take this opportunity to show some love for Creation Nation. We are growing tremendously, creators. I am so grateful. I am so thankful for you, for your presence, and being here with me right now, honoring Suicide Prevention Month. So on this special edition of the Creator Roll Call, I want to give big love, big shout out to my creators in Magna, Utah, creators down in Sterling, Virginia, La Cañada, Flint Ridge, California, that's a tongue twister, College Station, Texas, Vancouver, Washington creators, local creators here in Scottsdale and Phoenix, Arizona, our creators up in St. Louis, here we go, Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Hope I'm saying that to all my Cambodia creators. That's so awesome. Malden, United Kingdom creators holding it down. Eureka, Montana creators. What's going on, guys? Kuala Lumpur, Malaysian creators. Got those awesome creators up in Hoboken, New Jersey. Shirley, New York creators. And amazingly enough, giving big love to the creators down in Johannesburg, South Africa. All right, creators, that is the special edition Creator Roll Call. And if you heard your city, if you heard your neck of the woods, I would appreciate you telling a friend, shooting them a text, sharing this show, and letting them know that you were on the Creative Success Show. And without any further ado, today's guest on Creative Success was born into a conservative evangelical Christian home. Somewhere along the way, though, things changed. And he had a suicide attempt at age 28 and it failed. Thank God for that. But he was thrown into a psych ward, and like a superhero in the night, he's returned with grace, even if it is just a little bit messy. Today, he's a worship pastor, a photographer, speaker, and published author. He's been in big-time publications like HuffPost and Goodman Project, and just released his second book, From Pastor to Psych Ward, Recovery from a Suicide Attempt is Possible. Wow. And he's regularly blogging, sharing his journey of addiction, abuse, and recovery at graceismessy.com. Steve Austin, thank you so much for joining us today on Creative Success.
Oh, Tanner, I'm thrilled to be here. Let me put my cape away real quick, and I'll be right back.
You are a superhero, my friend, and thank you so much for taking time with us. You know, we're just skimming the top, creators. Steve Austin is quite the dynamic human being. I'm so grateful that he's here on our show today. And one of the things that I want to start off with is that you say faith journey is not about being on the left or the right or judging the actions of others. It's about taking your story, helping others in a positive way, impacting them with your own struggles. I love that you put it forward like that. You're just an open book. Tell us a little bit about why you've started sharing your journey so openly.
Well, it's exactly that. For the longest time growing up, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, so I'm in the buckle of the Bible Belt, and everyone is, a church-going Republican. At least that's what I thought growing up.
Sure.
And so I pictured Jesus as a gun-toting, camo-wearing Republican too. And somewhere along the way, not even somewhere along the way, after the suicide attempt, I started giving myself permission to ask some really big questions. I'd been questioning things about my faith, not questioning my faith, but questioning things about my faith that never made sense.
Sure.
If you read the Bible and you're not a freaking theologian, there are a lot of things in there that contradict itself. And when you get, you've got the Baptist says this and the Methodist says that and the Presbyterian says something different. We won't even talk about Catholics. And it's like, well, who's right? And so I started giving myself permission to have doubts and to let my faith be big enough, wide enough to include doubts, where growing up, it was faith is black and white. Life is black and white. Politics are black and white. Everything is so finite. And I have come to this place where I've learned that faith is much more like a flowing river. It's this moving river. And most of the time we sit on the bank and we sort of watch it go by. And we might stick a toe in every once in a while, or we may actually wade down in there a little bit, but it's fluid. It's constantly flowing. And we get to decide where we're going to get in. And so it's funny that because I'm neither a right-winger or a left-winger, I'm a progressive if I have to have a label, but because I don't fit either way, people find me really polarizing most of the time. And I'm just saying, hey guys, for me, it's more important to be kind than to be right. And people don't like that.
Love that. I love that. I think it's really reflective of how humble you are and that you're not such an egocentric person. Really, you just have this motivation to help other people. And, personally, I am getting to the point in my life where I'm not ashamed to use my story anymore. What happened to me to help other people. I feel bad. It's almost as if I have this gold bar that was placed in my lap and I'm not using it appropriately. I'm not building, schools in other countries. I'm not providing clean water to people who have to walk miles to get it. I'm not feeding the hungry. And what I mean by that is there's nothing wrong with using your story, your life, creators, with helping other people. I'm getting to that point in my life where I feel comfortable doing it, and it's clear that Steve Austin has already stepped through that threshold. I mean, you're so honest with your journey. And I want to build up to that moment when you're 28. We're the same age. We're both 33. And so this was really not that long ago. But tell us a little bit about some of the shame and some of the secrets that were going on behind the scenes that you don't really see maybe at church or out in public.
Yeah. So for me, the shame, the secret keeping, and on the other end of that, the performing started as a preschooler. I was molested by the next door neighbor's teenage son.
Oh my God.
Just before the age of 4. And we lived in tiny rural Alabama, this tiny town. Excuse me. And I came back inside that night. It was a summer night in Alabama. Came inside, and my mom was giving me a bath. I'm still this little guy, and she sees the red marks on my body and starts freaking out. My parents were young. They got married. My mom was 19 when she got married, and 20 when she had me. So they were both very young, and didn't have a lot of a really strong support system. And so she did what she thought was best. And in life, that's all we can do. We do what we know is best at the time, and we try to improve. We try to increase our knowledge and our sphere of influence and all that good stuff. But
certainly,
she decided the best thing to do, because we're in a tiny town, everybody knows everybody, and this was the neighbor's 17-year-old son. She knew that the father was a raging alcoholic. She tutored this kid after school in the afternoons. She decided the best thing to do would be to threaten him within an inch of his life, tell him to never come around again, and move on. And in her mind, and I didn't learn this till years later, from her perspective, I was a preschooler. It only happened once. I would never remember it, and we would move on. And so it was swept under the rug, and it was never talked about again. But what she failed to realize is that it has been affecting me, for the last 30 years. And it's incredible in talking with therapists, talking with counselors, that kind of thing, that how much detail I do remember, even as just a little bitty guy. I remember it down to the smell, Tanner. I hate to be so graphic, but I remember it all. And so I learned from my mom that you keep up appearances, that you sweep things under the rug, that the most important thing is to put your best face forward. And all those things sound really good until you have a kid who's dying inside. And so we're going to church every time the doors are open. My dad is, Mr. sings every solo every Sunday. My granddad's a deacon in the church. We're a very involved family, and I'm hearing all these sermons and all this stuff about Jesus. But all I know is that I'm supposed to put on a smile, and look my best. And so I began performing on and off the stage from the time I was a preschooler. I was in my first musical at the age of 5, and stayed in theater through high school and college. And I was a star student, went to ministry school after high school, traveled around the world with various organizations, and had a great time. But I never knew that I had permission to deal with the shame of this abuse. Then you add to that, at the age of 12, I was introduced to pornography and had a 20-year secret addiction to pornography as a youth pastor, as a worship leader, as a husband, had this major addiction to pornography. We're not talking some little addiction. We're not talking the guy who looks at it for 15 minutes once a week and gets a quick fix. I'm talking hours a day, every day.
Wow.
And nobody knew it. Yeah, nobody knew it. And so a lifelong pattern of shame and secret keeping finally caught up with me. It was eating me from the inside out, and that's what shame does. And you listen to Brene Brown, and you hear that shame thrives in the darkness. And so I was out of town on a
Whoa.
Yeah.
I gotta stop you there, Steve. We holy crap. Creators, how real is Steve being right now? Thank you so much, Steve, for being so honest and open, first off. And we gotta circle back around here and talk about some of this. We can't it's raining over here with vulnerability. So Steve, and creators, I think it's so important what Steve said about having permission to handle and address some of these shameful things. I think all of us, I know me, Steve, and people listening to this right now have had experiences when we are growing up that we have really no real understanding, concrete understanding of how they are affecting us on a daily basis. And you may remember some of it, maybe you don't. You may remember it as clearly as even the smells, like Steve said. And it might just be little flashes. But I guarantee you this, the things that have happened when we were growing up, the things when we are young, innocent human beings, just looking around and absorbing everything that's going on around us, traumatic experiences have a traumatic impact on our lives. And creators, if you don't know it already, Steve and I give you permission to uncover that stuff, to get to the bottom of it, to forgive yourself for it, to get help for it. I've gotten coaching and counseling on this. Steve, thank goodness he's gotten coaching and counseling on this. And creators, we give you permission to go get support and help you deal with all the things that are going on in your life, because it would be a tragedy if you don't address those things and don't step into your creative success, the greatness that's breathing inside of you. Now,
and here's why that's so important, Tanner, because you can be the most successful guy or girl in the world, but if you don't learn to give yourself permission to say, I need help, I am not okay, then you can be the most successful person in the world. But if you don't know how to succeed at life, if you don't know how to practice self-care and self-compassion, eventually all those buried things are going to come seeping back up to the surface, and you're going to have to face the skeletons in your closet.
Absolutely. It reminds me of the story of this German billionaire. At the time, he was the richest guy in the world, and I think in the wake of 2008, he ended up losing like $3 billion. Okay, so you have $9 billion in the bank, you lose $3 billion, you have $6 billion, and he killed himself.
Oh man,
because he felt like he lost everything. And he has $6 billion in the bank. Creators, no matter how tragic an incident is, you still have $6 billion in the bank. Right?
Gosh, man. Yeah, there's so much to say about perspective. So much to say about the things that we have to be thankful for. But man, shame lies to us so much.
Now, do you think that that experience, the traumatic sexual abuse, this assault as a child, do you think that maybe was the kindling behind the fire of the addiction, the pornography addiction?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think that, when a child is raped, and that's one of the biggest lies that I believed for a long time, is that you can't rape a preschooler. But it's a lie. And so when a child experiences such incredible trauma at an early age, you awaken this curiosity that they should never be exposed to at that early of an age. So yeah, man, my goodness, by the time I was 12 years old, I had experimented with 5 or 6 different kids through the years, and nobody was talking about it.
Wow.
And yeah, I don't know if I'm hoping that we're better about that now. I'm hoping that people are, because of good counseling, good coaching, good therapy, good education. I'm hoping that awareness has brought us to a new place compared to where we were 20 or 30 years ago. But yeah, in my situation, people knew that there was questionable stuff going on, but it was, it's just kids being kids. no, that's not okay, and it needs to be addressed.
100%. Thank you so much for saying that, Steve. And I just have to ask, and if you don't know, creators, I'm going to get some kind of resource up on the show notes page for this episode. Steve, do you have maybe a national hotline or a website where if someone thinks that they were abused or feels like something like this is going on in their life or their kids' lives, do you have a resource that we can point creators to?
Yes. Let's see. If you go to safehelpline.org, it's safehelpline.org. It's a sexual abuse hotline. It's live, confidential, 24/7 support. And then they also have a number. It's 877 995 5247.
Thank you so much. And creators, we'll get that linked up on the show notes page. So if you're working out or driving, no worries. And now, so you're a youth pastor. Let's fast forward a little bit. So you're a youth pastor. And when did it hit you that, okay, I'm doing more than 15 minutes of porn watching here. This is an issue. This is something that has some weight behind it.
Yeah, it's because addiction doesn't happen in a vacuum. Eventually, it seeps out into other areas of your life. Now, do I mean that I was a creeper? No. Was I, some kind of stalker? No. I wasn't doing, open, explicit things in public or anything like that. It was very much a secret thing. But I never learned the value or the importance of boundaries because I had this curiosity, this experimentation, and this addiction for so long. I thought it was okay. I grew up in a home where sex was just a topic of conversation. It was a joke. My parents' sex life was a joke. And for a kid who had been abused at such a young age, that's so unhealthy. It's so incredibly unhealthy. God loved my parents. They didn't know, but now we do know. And I'm here to tell you that parents, dear God, please keep some of that stuff private. Your kids don't need to know what you're doing in the bedroom and how often it is. So I thought that was just normal. I thought every family talked about sex. I thought every parents in the other room. And if I'm too graphic, I apologize. But
no, please continue.
Because of that, it was just no big deal to me. So here I am, this youth pastor in an extremely conservative Southern Baptist church, and I am the out-of-the-box guy. I'm the when we started at that church, we had about 6 people. And within about 3 months, we were pushing 30 and 40 every week. And this is in a very, very, very small town. But it's because I was willing to talk about things that these kids' parents wouldn't talk about, their pastor wouldn't talk about, and nothing inappropriate from a pulpit or a teaching standpoint at all, but we were just very real. Well, as a result, these kids connected with me in such a strong way. And so they were my quote unquote friends on Facebook. They followed me on Twitter. They had my number. They could text me if they had a crisis or a concern or something they wanted to talk about. And in trying to be cool, in trying to be popular, in trying to sort of take it to the next level, because I was a loose cannon, I crossed some boundaries and said some things, not anything illegal, but I said some things that some parents were very uncomfortable with. Ended up losing my job there at the church because I was I just didn't have a healthy sense of boundaries. And when, if I'm talking to a 18, 19, 20-year-old college kid, it's very different from even talking to a 17-year-old high school kid who is somebody's child.
Right.
Especially when you're in a very conservative part of the country where a lot of things just aren't talked about. We're in a church where they believe if alcohol touches your lips, you're going to go to hell. So it's a very different world here than in lots of different parts of the country. So I lost my job. I've got this abuse I've never dealt with. I've got this addiction that I've never dealt with. And like the guy who lost the $3 million and had 6 in the bank, I thought my life is over. My life for 10 years had been the church. I had a radio show. I had the church. I was working like crazy, doing all these things, but I had never stopped to take care of myself. And so I landed a 2-week contract job, about 2 hours from home, and was staying in a hotel room by myself for those 2 weeks. And as we've talked about before, shame thrives in the dark. So here I am in a hotel room by myself for 2 weeks with my thoughts just swarming of what a failure I am, of what an embarrassment I am, of how is my wife, ever going to forgive me? She probably thinks I'm a freak. I'm sure she wonders, what does she not know? All because I made a mistake. I screwed up, but it was an honest mistake. I owned it and could have just moved forward. But instead, I believed that my life was over and that the best thing I could do for my family would be to kill myself.
Wow. So do you have kids at this time?
So woke up in ICU the next day. Couldn't feel my legs. They were waiting to see if my liver was going to fail.
Well, hold on one second before we get to that. So you're married. How long have you been married at 28?
At 28, this was 2012. So I'd been married 5 years.
Wow. And do you have kids at this time?
Yeah, my little boy was going to turn a year old the next day.
Holy cow. Okay, so you're in the hotel room. You've made the decision to go ahead and go through with this. And what happened?
So, I drove from pharmacy to pharmacy in Huntsville, Alabama.
Thank you so much, Steve, for coming on and supporting Suicide Prevention Month. You are quite the creator, my friend. That's right, creators. September is Suicide Prevention Month. Now, I've got all the links for the phone numbers and resources for suicide prevention on the complete show notes page at creativesuccessshow.com/49. If you know of someone who may be a little bit down, maybe you want to share this episode. We've also got the links to connect with Steve Austin on the complete show notes page at creativesuccessshow.com/49. He's got his new book and the links to his blog at graceismessy.com. That's all on the complete show notes page. We've also got some really awesome sharing features now. Pretty cool. All you need to do is highlight some text, and we got an automatic box popping up prompting you to share on Facebook and Twitter, making it super easy. We make it really easy around here on the Creative Success Show. And I just want to say I appreciate you guys so much. I know I say it all the time, but it's always good to say it again. If you're loving this show, we would love a nice review. It takes just a moment, but it creates momentum for the show. I'm going to go leave a review right now for myself. I don't even know if that's possible, but we'll find out. So just search Creative Success in the podcast app. I should be the first one listed. And I've got the direct link on the complete show notes page at creativesuccessshow.com/49. Until next time, creators, I am Tanner Gears, your partner in suicide prevention and creative success.